My late father used to say this. It's very hard to get to the top, but it is very easy to come down. But always remember, how many people do you take along with you when you're going to the top? So if there's any reason for you to fall, it's very hard because they're there with you. It's a support system. And because I'm a very tribe-driven person, I know the injustice, I know the society challenge across minority, across our tribe. And if you're trying to do something that we do as a business, which is my philosophy, changing the narrative, you can't do this by yourself. So if you're going to do this successfully, you're going to have to come together as a tribe, get more people involved. It is easy. Advocate for more. Advocate to see that you can see people like myself becoming successful, growing up in the UK. I didn't have black mentors. A big secret that has helped me outside my faith has been the power of mentorship. I realized, no, if you're going to do this and be successful, if you're going to create something of legacy, you're going to have to change this. If you're going to do stuff where my children would talk about their father and be proud to say, my father fought for this. My father wasn't just successful alone. And my philosophy of life about success is not in the many assets that I have. It's not in the many wealth I'm creating or building or the empire, whatever I'm doing currently. My biggest stuff of success is how many people I made successful.
Hello everyone, my name is Daniel Coker, your accidental podcaster, coming to you this week from the Hill Hub in Dartford. And our guest this week is in the person of Mr. Sanmi Adegoke, who's the founder and the CEO of the Rehoboth property group. The Hill Hub happens to be one of their properties in their portfolio. And Sanmi has an amazing story, and it's a privilege to be with you today. Sanmi,
Yes,
welcome to the Against All Odds podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Sanmi, a lot has been, publicized about your life story, and I'm very selective about the people that I choose to bring on this podcast, and your story I've thoroughly researched and done a lot of analysis about, because for somebody who came to the UK as a little sort of a young child, and then you kind of forged a path for yourself, started out working in McDonalds. Okay, and I got all this from a recent BBC documentary that you featured on. And today you are the CEO of a multi-million pound property development company. So I'm asking, how did this happen? Because that's the very essence of this podcast, Against All Odds. A black kid from Nigeria working in McDonald's, not many people get to be in the position that you are. And I'm quite curious, and I'm sure our guests are as well, as to how this happened. So, if you don't mind, giving us a bit of insight into your journey.
I'd like to ask a big favor. Your subscription means a lot to us, because the bigger this platform gets, the bigger the guests get. So do me a favor, please click on the subscribe button and the bell notification, so that you don't miss out on any future episodes. Now let's get back to this episode.
Thank you, Daniel. My journey is a remarkable one. It's a one of looking at your podcast called Against All Odds, and thinking through my journey from a place of, for many of your listeners, I'm a faith person. One of my favorite scriptures says, it makes the unqualified qualified. And only by His grace have I been able to achieve this? Not by my own doing. The journey has been one of grace. The journey has been one of faith. The journey has been one that I've walked in a place of obedience and understanding God's purpose for my life. In all of this stuff, it's always a reminder about what Jeremiah said about, for I know the plans that I have towards you. They are plans of good and not of evil. And working in line with the agenda and the plans of God led me into the position that I'm in today. Like you rightly said, started my journey in one of the best fast food restaurants in the world, in McDonalds, coming from Nigeria as a young kid, and just learning the road through of what McDonalds looked like. And McDonalds was the foundation for me, because McDonalds was the beginning of me understanding a lot about the UK, a lot about the society, a lot about women skills, a lot about me developing myself as a young boy. And that was where the journey started from. But like I said earlier about faith was the motivating factor across the line of where I started from. For McDonald's, I knew McDonald's was just a path towards the purpose, towards where God was taking me, but it was just a journey, and following to the journey and understanding that this was part of the purpose of where I was going in life. Fast forward after McDonald's, I was very, as a young person, very inquisitive. Most Nigerians are like that. Were very, very inquisitive in wanting to learn. And I remember just trying to learn a lot when I go into McDonald's, trying to see that I might end up becoming a manager, a shift manager. But I later realized that no, that wasn't a plan. I started learning about McDonald's, understanding that McDonald's was not just a restaurant. McDonald's, for many people that might not know this, McDonald's, it's a real estate system, a real estate company. A lot of the buildings you see is owned by McDonald's, and many people would have the franchise and get the building from McDonald's. So McDonald's has probably like 80 to 90% of the asset, which the other part was just the restaurant. And that was where even a lot of my buildings, I got a lot of those ideas when I started real estate as well, about creating different chains of spaces where it can be utilized for different stuff. And from McDonald's, I was opportune to met someone that introduced me to one of the greatest books that changed my life. I read a lot because that's part of what ultimately developed and shaped my journey. It was a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah, very good book.
And is like one of my top books that truly inspired, changed a lot for me. Remember the story, coming from Nigeria and just thinking, how would I get to a place of success? How would I get to a place of even navigating myself? And for McDonald's, reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, my mentality started changing. I started finding ways of knowing what's the next thing after McDonald's. Like getting to save. Yes, saving was great, but this was just a platform for me to get into a bigger place. And fast forward, try to get a job in Canary Wharf. It wasn't a good job. It was a security officer as a young boy, thinking I need to just get something better.
Security officer.
it was a crazy journey, and that's what I said. For I know the plans that I have towards you. For everyone, for anyone listening, God has a plan. It might look so rough. It might look like it's crazy, but once you stick to the plan, it would always happen. And for me, going there to find a job, that didn't happen. It was just then they were building Canary Wharf. It was at the beginning of what we have as Canary Wharf today. And moving away from there, I was able to start studying about real estate, moving to residential real estate, buying off-plan property. Then the recession came. It was crazy. Lost a lot of money, but there was something that was missing in the journey of me navigating my way to even going into the residential sector of real estate. Was there was so many businesses I was trying to do. I was trying to do stuff in Africa. I was importing stuff to Nigeria. I went into telecommunications. That there was a lot, and I just saw that something was missing, which was the purpose. Which for a lot of people, we tend to do so many things and not finding our purpose. And very opportune to meet a farm mentor of mine by the name Miles Moran. So I started listening to Miles Moran. Miles Moran is very big on purpose, and there was a book called Understanding Your Purpose, and I thought I was doing well as a business person, and then realized that that's not purpose. It's always important to understand what your purpose is, because once you understand that, it's inevitable, because you're just going to stick to that purpose. People come to meet you, and the first thing they ask is, what's your name? My name is Daniel Coker, as you are. And what do you do? Oh, I do this. Now, people want to know that thing about you that stands out. It's like you have your day job, or your podcasting, it's just an hobby, something you're doing to teach other people to see that stories can be told. That's a purpose. And for me, I was able to understand from listening and following Miles Moran what that purpose life should really be like. And then came the understanding of real estate was it. Started studying a lot, got a lot of book. A lot of the stuff I had to teach myself because I didn't study real estate, and it's a lot. Like what I'm trying to say to you is it's a lot of story of self-development, and also a big part of what I tell people about the story is mindset. Because for you to be in the position that I could change from getting from McDonalds into what I do, into the change of my mindset was really huge, because the mindset will tell you that you can't really do this. But as I said to you about my journey as a faith person, one favorite scripture that I have growing up was, as a man thinketh in his heart.
Proverbs 23 verse 7.
That's it. So easy. So my life was, Sammy, you can think big, you can dream big, you can achieve this. Started studying, find myself in a niche market in real estate, which was commercial properties. And not a lot of people understand there's a massive demand for faith buildings, for religious organization. So I was able to identify that purpose, started helping churches, looking for spaces, massive demand for church building across the UK. There's a massive, like, you just can't believe what it's like, because it's very hard to come by getting church building, because you just don't find them. We started out helping the evangelical churches, grew from just less than 3 clients to thousands of clients. And what we saw was God helped us. I became very creative, which is still part of the element of understanding your purpose. I became very creative, looking at bingo buildings and turning them to place of worship, looking at rundown cinemas, warehouses, police station, like
where we are now.
Where we are today. Court building. We were the first developers to turn court buildings into churches, police station into churches, and God just helped us. The doors just opened, and I was able to understand within a short period, this is your purpose. And it's so fulfilling, because as a faith person as well, seeing that I can do something that is part of my faith, and it's purpose is faith driven as well. So
there's alignment. You're talking about alignment.
That's it.
Yeah. So Sammy, I mean, that's an amazing introduction to your journey, But I'm also thinking that perhaps you're somebody who applies yourself, and looking around this building, I see a lot of detail. Okay, I see a lot of attention to detail. I see a lot of precision. I see a lot of thoughtfulness. I see creativity. Okay, so as you took me on a tour around the building, that's what I saw. Okay, and I'm kind of thinking back to your early starts in McDonald's. You know, I believe you applied yourself, even though it was a stepping stone to in your journey. I believe you are somebody who went to work with a mindset to work. You know, and from the little research that I've done about you, you know, ahead of this interview, I've come to know that, you know, you're somebody who is very intentional. You know, about your time, about your, you know, everything that you do is very intentional. You don't mess around, you know, you don't play around, you know, and I'm just thinking that perhaps some of these attributes, you know, that's you demonstrated fairly early on helped you in this pursuit of purpose. Because there's somebody watching this podcast, you know, who probably isn't applying themselves, you know, it's probably taking life very easy, you know, not being very intentional and kind of hoping that things will fall into place, you know. But much as we're talking about faith and all that, you know, I'm also a person of faith, right? But let's be realistic. You know, you can't just be a person of faith and not back that so-called faith by actions. And the Bible is full of examples of diligence.
That's right.
You know, resilience. You know, bouncing back. You know, whatever your hands find to do it with all your might. You know, it's full of all these stories and all these principles. Would you say that these are attributes that have helped you in this journey, that somebody who's watching this, you know, might learn from?
So you said something very important, and it's very simple. Faith without work is death. It doesn't, nothing would happen. You can have as many faith as you can do, but the practicality is key. For example, when I started out with what we have today as Rehoboth Property, we didn't have a client. I went around chasing pastors, churches, selling an idea, selling something that a lot didn't really believe was going to work. But I was very persistent. The certain attribute that you need as a business person in whatever you want to do, either in business or as a career person, there's so many keys. One of those keys is you've been resilient in what you're trying to do. If you don't have those attributes, you can't succeed. The business world is very crazy. There's a lot that it takes you as a person. Even take away what you just rightly said as well about the faith. The challenges that comes to you every day on a journey of what you do as a business person or career person, it's a lot. So those fundamental things where I said earlier before, the mindset, because your mindset tells you what you're trying to achieve. It's someone coming from Africa and you don't even have £1,000 to your name, but you know the journey is going to be long, but you're building the capacity in you while working at McDonald's, being diligent at what I was doing, understanding what McDonald's was. If I didn't understand McDonald's, I wouldn't know what I do today. The creativity behind a lot of what we do as a business, that was the foundation. Me understanding that McDonald's, come to think about this, it's not a fast food restaurant, it's real estate. And understanding that on time, then starting to research a lot, because a lot of people don't understand that there's so much power in research. You were just speaking to me now, and I'm like, it says a lot, I doesn't know my story, and you did your research to be able to find those information from the BBC interview you mentioned. It's so important that these are principles. You're trying to go into a business. What research have you done? What have you understudied? Who are the people you've researched? I bought so many books. I got so many mentors when I started out, because I needed to understand how would I be successful at this stuff. So those are key things that are very important to have as your principles.
Sammy, that's another thing thank you very much for that. Another thing I've noted about you is that you're somebody who dresses for success. Okay, and No, I'm being very serious here, right? I've done my homework. I've tried to analyze you. I've tried to, because that's what I do. I mean, I'm a people person, and I try to get behind, the image, the public image. Okay, and you're somebody who's always on point. Sharply dressed. And would you say that intentionality, even about how you present yourself, you're like a serious person, right? I can see you going in for meetings, planning meetings with the council, with investors, with banks, whatever it is. You carry an image of somebody who's serious, okay? And dressing and the way you present yourself is also important, But in today's world, young people of today, that aspect of personal presentation is almost a forgotten, skill, because it's like, anything goes. Would you say that, what can you tell us about that?
So, very interesting question.
I'm asking you you didn't expect it, did you?
It's fine. I always say this about your image. Your image is your brand. I'm very big on brand. I'm very big on what do people see about you when they first meet you. It's about the word you said, being intentional. I'm in a space where we don't have a lot of black developers. I'm buying buildings from government asset. I'm buying buildings that are owned by His Majesty, buildings owned by Her Majesty. I'm running a fund, I'm running different investment. And for people to take you serious in the space of what you're trying to do, your image is key. Because it's remember, it's in the industry we live in, not just my industry, every industry, it's pretty much about the perception of how people see you. Can I trust this guy with £1 million? Can I trust this guy with £5 million?
Yeah.
Can he deliver on this? So you go in for meetings and people, you're speaking to potential investors, you're speaking to developers, you're speaking to councils, you're speaking to people, see that, and just outside the mere fact of what you have to say, which is important, it's your look, your appearance. You always have to understand that is a very important aspect of who you are. So you have to be very intentional about your outlook. I always tell people that it doesn't cost you. I've been dressing like this from when I was young. I realized this from a very early age, even from my mom, because she made us understand that's how people see you. So if you think you mean business, you have to show that so people understand that this guy is serious. Is a serious business person. So I've always had what I said to you about the mindset. I've seen myself from a young age as a businessman, as an entrepreneur. So for me, it was easy to start thinking, in the next 20 years of getting there, how do I want to see myself? So that is very key. I'm very, very big on that. Very important. Your outlook, your presentation. I don't want to go into my faith stuff, because if I tell you from a faith angle why this is key, it's important, because that's the way God also sees you in that regard as well. Because you remember we were created in His image. And that presentation of you being in that image is key as a child, as a man or woman created by God.
Fantastic. Sanmi, integrity. Okay. Obviously, we're talking about representation or underrepresentation in big business. Okay, and there's not enough black developers in the space that you work in. How have you managed to maintain your integrity, and how have you managed to, develop that attribute? Because there's no way that you can get to where you are now if you are not a person of integrity. Because your position is it's a position of power, position of influence. And some people, in your position might, might basically mess up because that integrity is not there. But from the research I've done, I've come to see that you're a person of integrity, and I think that is a person that is a good attribute to help anyone who's watching this to succeed against all odds. What can you tell us about that?
A very big secret of any successful entrepreneur or business person, even as a career person, is you must be a person of integrity. Building a brand like RPG, we set out from day one that whatever we do, obviously being a person of color, it's a lot for people to really believe in your brand. And integrity was part of the major foundation of how we build RPG. When we say something, we do it. When we commit into a deal, we deliver. It's like when I was talking to you about this space. We bought this space from the biggest landowners in the UK, Homes England, which is a government body that owns like thousands or even millions of assets on behalf of government. And very tough for someone like me to be able to get into that position where they can trust me and sell to me. But from building that place of integrity, I bought hundreds of buildings from them because of that integrity, that I was able to deliver on what I promised. They're not just deliver on what I promised, delivering spaces that we tell people when we buy a space, this is what we're trying to do. This is our plan. Most of our projects are very community driven, community impact focused, where we buy a building and we turn them into affordable co-working space, affordable workspaces, incubator, event spaces, spaces for the faith community. So everything we set ourselves to do, integrity is a massive player in anything we're trying to do. So I'm very, very big on integrity. And I think for most of your listeners, if you're trying to start a business, whatever you're trying to do, either even a marriage, either anything you try to do, let integrity be a watchword. You say, I'm going to be there at 7, even if you're going to be a bit late, just make sure the word you said, it's there. People kind of see that. And also say, even as a father, as a family person, as a family man as well, because you're raising another generation. If integrity is not part of your life, you're going to pass it on to your children because it becomes a society problem if you're not really understanding why integrity should be a core part of not just your business, but of your family life, of who you are as a person.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And moving swiftly on, in terms of your ability, I know you talked about faith, faith being a big factor, being a big factor of your overall being and lifestyle. How have you managed to overcome the fear of big projects? Because the projects that you deal with are not, many of us would not be able to sleep. And I'm being very honest with you. I mean, I've been doing property for 20-something odd years, but the kind of projects you do, are not for, the Bible talks about doing business in great waters. You do business beyond great waters. The kind of things you do are just crazy. I mean, buying buildings for millions and millions and millions of pounds, before you even start doing anything with them. How do you handle that?
Oh God!
I'm really making you laugh today.
I wasn't expecting those questions, but
that's exactly why I didn't give you the questions you had beforehand.
But no, it's good. Remember what I said about a big part of what has kept me going is my faith. Jesus will say, anything I see my Father do, same I do. He created the world in 7 days. The biggest entrepreneur ever was God. He created us in His image. He's given us dominion I learned a lot of that from Muhammad, understanding that there is nothing you cannot do. There is never a cannot in anything we do as RPG. We have dreams. We haven't even reached 10 or 20% of our dream.
Wow.
We're still within the next few months, you're going to be hearing something massive we're doing. We will take on what people think it is impossible. Because the way I see this is all things are possible to them that believe. I understand the principle that guides what backs me up. It's my Bible. I go through, I say it, I understand, I have a way to understand that my faith can allow me to do this, and I can do it. Because what is simple, I can do all things through Christ, that strengthens me. See, greater works than my Father has done, I would do. My Father has made the universe. So why would I limit what I do? The UK is even too small for someone like me. So if the likes of Elon Musk can do what they're doing globally, and you're seeing that, nothing stops us from doing it. So what you're seeing now is still just 2% of many things that's coming. Because we'll do amazing stuff. So for me, I don't limit whatever I'm doing. You're in one of my buildings today. I haven't come to this building in a long time.
Really?
Because as soon as we deliver on the project, it's being managed, we'll move to the next, We have a pipeline of hundreds of millions of development. So for me, it's you understand that. And that's why even if you see the name of the business, it's called Rehoboth Property. Rehoboth means God has made space for us in the land, and we shall prosper. So I don't limit myself because what backs me up doesn't have a limit. So it's no limit, it's limitless. So for me, what you tend to see now is just a fraction of the many great things that are still coming. So once we decide we're going to go for this, we trust God, we just have it to know that this would happen. So there is never the negativity of why we're trying to do this. Remember I said to you, this building you're in today was done in COVID. In COVID, everyone said workspaces is dead. People are not going to work from the offices anymore. In the same year we delivered this project, within 2-3 months, we had over 60% occupancy.
Wow. And it's a huge facility.
Huge facility. Yeah. We've won more than, I can't count it now, maybe 8 awards for this space. So we just go by what is that thing that is needed, especially in the community. Because it's more about impact. For me, and that's why what you see us do is impact is limitless. Because, and that's another why that controls what I do, what Rehoboth does. It's legacy. It's everything you see us do is, it's not for our generation. It's 20 years after. What do people remember that Sanmi Adegoke guy for? We're seeing that now, having this podcast. You've said a lot. In the next 10 years, remember, I sat with him doing a podcast. He was saying this. I went to one of his buildings. That one of his building might be one of the thousands of his building. Because there's no limit to what we're trying to do. And we know that nothing is going to stop us. We know what we're trying to do. The vision is set. So there is no limit if you understand why you're doing what you're doing. It's not, I'm not going to mess around by saying, oh, it's easy. Nah, the challenges are there, the problems are there, the obstacles are there. But if you understand the why behind what you do, there's no limit.
Okay. Final question for you, Sanmi, if you don't mind. In terms of the size of the vision that you are pursuing, obviously you can't do it by yourself. Even though you're the visionary behind, I know it's a bigger thing, but then you probably present it as God's plan, and you're just a pawn in God's plan, right? That's probably what you're going to say to me. But then
no, let me hear the question. I won't go with my faith. I'll tell you.
Okay. So my question is, your vision is big, and you are taking people along with you. Okay, and I find that very commendable, because ever since I started this podcast, I've met two groups of people, Black, Asian, minority ethnic people. Some people, for them, it's all about themselves. It's all about how they got to the top, and it's just them. But you are the other group. You belong to the other group of people who are taking people with them on that journey. And it's creating an impact, and it's giving people hope, and it's showing people, how things can be done, and how things could be if the mindset changes. What drives you to take people along with you on this journey?
I will say a few things so that you have a clear picture of the question you've asked me. My late father used to say this: it's very hard to get to the top, but it is very easy to come down. But always remember, how many people do you take along with you when you're going to the top? So if there's any reason for you to fall, it's very hard, because they're there with you. It's a support system. And because I'm a very tribe-driven person, I know the injustice, I know the society challenge across minority, across our tribe. And if you're trying to do something that we do as a business, which is my philosophy, changing the narrative, you can't do this by yourself. You can't break through the system, you can't break through the rank, you can't break through. There is so much of barrier limitations. So if you're going to do this successfully, you're going to have to come together as a tribe, get more people involved. It is easy. Advocate for more. Advocate to see that you can see people like myself becoming successful. Growing up in the UK, I didn't have black mentors. A big secret that has helped me outside my faith has been the power of mentorship. I have loads of mentors. I have business mentors, spiritual mentors. In the Jewish community, I have a lot of Jewish mentors that have trained me. Part of my upbringing was from the training I had from that Jewish community. And that's why when I tell people about what I've learned, what you asked me about having to help others, in the Jewish community, they come together. They're very supportive. They do things together. They defend each other. And for me, seeing those stuff, I realized, no, if you're going to do this and be successful, if you're going to create something of legacy, you're going to have to change this. If you're going to do stuff where my children would talk about their father and be proud to say, my father fought for this. My father wasn't just successful alone. And my philosophy of life about success is not in the many assets that I have. It's not in the many wealth I'm creating or building or the empire, whatever I'm doing currently. My biggest stuff of success is how many people I made successful. That's one of my values. How many people were successful? How many people did I make an impact with? Every of our space that we have, if I go to some of the spaces and they see me, the joy of thank you, Sanmi, thank you for what you created here for us. The joy, that's the impact, that's the success. Creating this ecosystem of businesses that would not be able to afford those spaces and seeing them thriving in an ecosystem. That's the joy of a success. Seeing other people like me that would never have the opportunity of building wealth. And I could do this. Remember my story. My story, I wasn't born with millions. This is song coming from, remember, like you said at the start, McDonalds. So you can do this. Nothing is going to stop you. I'll give you the books. I'll support you. I'll give you the support. If I need to put in capital to help you, I'll do that to make sure that you become successful. So it's about how many people I can make successful.
Wow, that's truly commendable. That's really commendable. We have a tradition on this podcast where we give our guests the opportunity to dedicate the episodes that they feature on to anyone or any group of people of their choice. So who would you like to dedicate today's episode to? And you're more than welcome to look into the camera for that.
Dedicate to my lovely wife. Because she's why we're going to watch this podcast. Okay, that's a big one. I didn't know you were going to ask that.
I know. It's all part of it.
Is it like dedicating to a foundation or dedicating?
No, I mean just say thank you to somebody or just give a shout out to somebody.
Oh no, for me it would always be, my shout out would be to my wife. We're currently having a podcast at probably 8 o'clock. I won't get on to very late in the night. The dedication, looking after the family, all for the family, and just being supportive of my dream as well. It's a lot. So shout out would always be to my wife and to my children, and to my family, to my extended family, to my mom, and to all supporters of my dream, even to yourself. There's invited me to come. It's a lot when I see people like you doing what you're doing, because I know what it takes to do what you're doing. So my shout out to my wife, to my lovely wife and family, and to everyone that is on this journey as well, trying to be successful. You will make it. Like you said, and like you know what the podcast is, against all odds. So beat that narrative. Against all odds, you can be successful. So I dedicate to those people.
Fantastic. Sanmi, thank you so much for your time. If you've enjoyed this episode, as I'm sure you have, I'd like you to leave some comments in the comment section below. I'd like you to like, share, and subscribe, because the bigger the platform gets, the easier it will be to keep bringing you stories like Sanmi's. And never underestimate the power of a story, because not everyone will have a mentor, but somebody can listen to a story and see somebody who looks like them, who has managed to succeed against all odds. And thank you very much once again, and see you next week. Thank you, Sanmi.
Thank you, Daya. Thank you so much.
Great.